Did anyone see the Jack Smith stuff from today, or do we even care anymore?
Oh, someone scoop me.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I do care, but the reality is, unless we get a conviction, another conviction before voting day, it's not going to matter because the people who haven't made up their minds do not pay attention to anything. Yeah, unless, of course, it turns out that Jack Smith released details of the case that was coming up, wherein Trump very obviously knows what's happening in the Capitol and encourages it to continue and says that he made up the statistics. I'm so glad you're here, AC. You're who I wanted to apologize to. Um, yeah, it does matter, and I was very wrong. Now, look, although I'm sure YouTube will restrict me saying it outright, none, none of the things, let me say this. Everything I say should be taken with a big fat grain of salt and a bit of vinegar, too. And I'm in no state to give any advice about what anybody should do. And you ought not to listen to what I have to say in terms of advising. So I'm free in this moment to just enjoy a real big piece of real bad news for Donald Trump with you. We're going to read through this article together. Donald James X, hello. Oh, yes. No, I'm not surprised. This is huge. Cat 67 Cat, good morning. Anti-corporatist is exactly what I was hoping for. that exact reaction. Here's the deal. This is a fantastic piece of news. I want to read it with you. Great article here by Politico, summing it up. Special counsel, it's by Kyle Cheney and Josh Gerstein. Special counsel Jack Smith won't get a chance to bring his best criminal case against Donald Trump to trial before the 2024 election, and if Trump wins, Smith probably will never get that chance because we do not live in a safe democracy. Because we have things currently set up so that if you're president, you can destroy criminal cases against you. Hey, this is something that all Republicans and all Democrats, and in fact, all anybody in America should not let stand. A somewhat more sober me may recommend that you read through this article with a friend who's on the fence, with one of those undecided voters we were talking about. Because everybody should care about this. But on Wednesday, the public got its most complete look at the evidence Smith has amassed to try to prove that the former president orchestrated criminal conspiracies as he sought to overturn his loss 4 years ago in a 165-page legal brief unsealed by a federal judge, albeit with some redactions. The special counsel fleshed out detailed evidence he would use against Trump at trial if the case ever makes it that far, jumping down to it. He was alone with his phone at 2:24 p.m. on January 6th, as Trump supporters were attacking the Capitol. Trump took to Twitter to condemn Vice President Mike Pence, saying Pence lacked courage because Pence had resisted Trump's pressure to intervene in the Electoral College certification. According to Smith's prosecutors, Trump was alone in the White House dining room when he sent that tweet. Trump's aides had left him there after failing to persuade him to call on his supporters to leave the Capitol. In other words, he knew his supporters were at the Capitol causing problems. When he was left alone, as in there's nobody else to blame for what he chose to do with that information, he sent out a tweet, a mass message, saying that his guy in the Capitol lacked courage because he had resisted Trump's pressure to intervene. As in, hey, people in the Capitol, go get him. Trump asked, so what? The tweet criticizing Pence coincided with one of the most perilous moments of the riot, the precise minute Pence was being evacuated from his Senate office to a loading dock below the Capitol. Rioters had come within 40 feet of where he was sheltering just before this moment when Trump was told by an aide of Pence's evacuation. Prosecutors say Trump responded, so what? In other words, he was disrupting an official act and he knew it. He was using violence, mob violence, to interfere with the election. Well, maybe he had good reason, right? Disregarding the results. According to prosecutors, at one point during Trump's bid to overturn the results, a Trump White House aide overheard Trump tell his daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell." You just jump back up. It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election, you still have to fight like hell. The comment was allegedly made on Marine One. Don't you think we should get Ivanka, Trump, and Jared Kushner in a courtroom under oath, confirming or denying whether that happened? Inventing statistics. Let's just see, because we don't know until they're in a courtroom and they've given their testimony. We don't know. So let's just see if we can read in to his mindset. See if we can maybe draw some connections to something else that might have happened recently that tells you how this guy operates. Prosecutors said they would prove at trial that Trump and his allies often made up statistics about voter fraud from whole cloth. For example, Trump and allies alleged that 36,000 non-citizens had cast ballots in Arizona, changing the figure to a few 100,000 5 days later, eventually revising it back to bare minimum 40 or 50,000, then 32,000, and then back up to the original number of 36,000. What was it that J.D. Vance, Trump's latest crony, said about the Haitian immigrant lies? He made them up. He'll tell a lie if it fits what he's trying to do. Trump right now is saying that Democrats plan to bus in non-U.S. citizens to vote this time. His behavior now is exactly what I would expect to see from somebody who did this in the past and wasn't punished for it. Broken promises of evidence 1 week after Election Day in 2020. Trump told the then governor, Doug Ducey, that he was packaging up fraud evidence to share with him, prosecutors wrote. But Trump never provided it. Ducey told Trump that Arizona was all but lost, comparing it to being in the ninth inning, 2 outs, and the defendant was several runs down. Smith's brief recounted. Mocking Sidney Powell. After a Fox News host called out Trump aligned lawyer Sidney Powell for making bizarre claims about Dominion voting machines, Trump called her on speakerphone. On the November 2020 call, Trump muted his line and mocked her to two aides, calling her claims about the election crazy and making a reference to Star Trek, prosecutors contend. On another occasion, he called Powell unhinged. Though it's not referenced in Smith's new filing or his indictment, Trump later considered naming Powell as a special counsel to investigate election fraud. And he considered a proposal she crafted to seize voting machines from swing states for a forensic inspection. He admits to his aides. The prosecutors are willing to say this in court. That means they have witnesses. That means most likely they have the aides. He admits to his aides that he thinks Sidney Powell is wackadoo. He does not believe the things she says. And yet he later considers naming her as a special counsel to investigate election fraud. Why is that? Why would you do that? Why would you consider her proposal to seize voting machines from swing states? Because he just wants her to say he won the election. That's all. It was never relevant if it was true or not. Trump's January 5 call to Steve Bannon, prosecutors who had more access to telephone records and emails than the congressional committee that investigated January 6th, alleged that Trump spoke to ally Steve Bannon by phone on January 5, less than 2 hours before Bannon issued a prescient and provocative prediction on his War Room podcast that all hell is going to break loose on January 6th. Steve Bannon somehow knew something was going down on January 6th. He said all hell is going to break loose. Now we find out Trump spoke to Steve Bannon on January 5. A preview of forensic evidence. Prosecutors plan to have an FBI computer forensic examiner testify about Trump's phone use on January 6th. They say it will show which news and social media apps he had on his phone and will reveal that Trump was on Twitter for much of the day. There's a shocker. Prosecutors also plan to show at trial what Fox News was broadcasting at specific times during the day, since Trump had it on in the dining room and was watching coverage of the riot. In other words, he knew what was happening. He knew they were rioting. He could have stopped them at any moment, and he chose not to. It's not just about whether he sent them down there. He did send them down there. It's not just about whether or not he riled them up, but he did rile them up. It is also about when did he know that it was a riot? When did he know that people were in danger? When did he know that lawmakers were being terrorized? He knew the whole time, gang, the entire time, and chose to do nothing as his staff was begging him, as Republicans and Democrats were begging him, as people on the news were saying he must stop this, as lawmakers whose lives were in danger were shouting at him over the phone. He knew. He made a choice for this to happen. We have a choice to make in November because the DOJ has not done its job. We have a choice between democracy or not, and that's it. If the DOJ had done its job, we would have somebody else to choose from. We would have a normal Democratic candidate, and at the very least, a non-criminal Republican. But this choice we have in front of us, it really doesn't have anything to do with whether you're left or right. It's whether or not you believe in democracy. If you do, in other words, if you're an American, Vote for Kamala Harris. I know I said her name wrong. I will never say it right the first time. Vote for Kamala Harris. You don't have to be a perfect person to make the right choice. But let's keep it going. Make them riot. Well before January 6th, an unidentified Trump campaign employee enthusiastically spoke of the potential for a riot in my state of Michigan. The employee, whom, if I find on the street, will not go home to his family, so prosecutors better get to him before I do, whom prosecutors described as a co conspirator, allegedly sought to create chaos at a polling center in Detroit, meaning the likelihood of my getting my hands on him goes up every moment. When it became clear a batch of election returns favorable to Biden was legitimate. Find a reason it isn't, the alleged co conspirator said to a colleague, prosecutors wrote. When the colleague said an outbreak of violence appeared imminent, the campaign employee replied, make them riot. Do it. So, there is some son of a bitch out there in my town who was seeking to create chaos. Became clear a batch of election returns that's favorable to Biden was legitimate. And this punk said, find a reason it isn't. In other words, betray my fellow citizens, take away their vote, disenfranchise them, in other words. He hoped for a riot. For his sake, DOJ better find him quick. Rudy's rise. Trump sidelined his campaign lawyers on November 13th, 2020, with Bannon informing another Trump campaign advisor and alleged co conspirator that Trump had replaced them in the pecking order with Rudy Hair Dye Giuliani. Bannon said he told Trump that without Giuliani in charge, this thing is over. Trump is in it to the end, Bannon added, according to prosecutors. That's why Rudy's involved in all this. He was very much a part of it. So was Mark Meadows. But he flipped on his co conspirators. Rudy's follies, counting on Giuliani, didn't turn out so well. Smith's brief includes yet another instance of Giuliani's prolific record of butt dialing and clumsy cell phone use. Prosecutors say he attempted to send a proposed resolution to Michigan lawmakers declaring the election to be in dispute, but sent it to the wrong number. Hence, it became evidence. Gang, in other words, anti corporatist was right to bring this up earlier. This is big news. The link to the Politico article is in the description. Read it through with someone who doesn't really follow politics. Explain it to them if they need it explained to them. But make sure that you know that one of these people that we were talking about earlier, one of these people who we were making fun of because they don't know nothing about nothing, one of those sees this. Put it on your social media. Make a video about it if you like. Pull it up on your phone and put it under the nose of someone who knows very little. It's as plain as day. It's silly that there is any question at all as to whether or not Trump ought to be president. It's not a game. He got people killed. He's attempting to undo democracy. That's what you do. And that's the main content I wanted to share with you this fine morning. The rest is just us sassing it. So I guess, hey, I'm good luck. Yeah, I'm guessing let's just have some fun. Have that ready on your phone so you can show people to their face. Yes. Links in the description. The anti-corporatist crooked thieves want to crookedly thieve the election. Some of them have been so propagandized that they don't care. Yeah, just make them answer. Make them make them acknowledge that they've seen the truth of who they're talking about supporting. Make them say it out loud. I don't care about democracy. Oh, I'm going to vote for the party, not just the man, but the party that was a party to this. Show them that Michigan Republican that wanted a riot. Make them acknowledge that they don't give a damn about democracy. Your cheeks are puffy. Are you allergic to something? No, I'm fat. I eat potato chips at midnight. That's what happens. Oh, Donald James X. Yeah, this ain't that big of a deal in my opinion, in a sense that some people won't care if you did show them some. This is going to be an election won by inches. This is the kind of thing that people will shout, "Why didn't they just look at this?" if things go wrong. You know? Oh, there was an opportunity to know. Oh, this guy was an obvious criminal. Look at all the evidence Jack Smith released right before the election. How could they still vote for him? We may find out, but don't let it be because they didn't see it. You can't. What's in somebody's heart is not your responsibility, but you can take responsibility for whether or not one person saw one piece of evidence. We have to evangelize. We talk about undecided voters. We were doing so in the stream earlier. We were having a hearty chuckle, and that's great. But it's not enough just to laugh at them. We got to show them, all in our own way. We got to make an effort to reach out to somebody and show them who this person is. You guys know. I know. Andrea knows. Matt knows. Sandy knows. Sam Cedar knows. The internet left knows. And frankly, a lot of folks on the right know. A lot of folks in the middle know. But those undecided voters, those 20% of people that choose not to participate in the election for some GD reason, they don't know. And we have to tell them. So find an excuse, find an opportunity, or just call on the fact that they've respected your opinion about something in the past and say, let me spend that token. If you think that I know when things are important sometimes, then listen to me now, because this is important. And in 30 days, America's going to go one way or to other. And one way is not perfect, but the other way is really, really bad. And we have an opportunity to lose even the hope of justice. So please read this article. A grand rising all, says Latino Mufune. Lightning rod. People know and want a gangster for president. I disagree. Some do. but not all. If it doesn't go to other, maybe your vision of America is antiquated. If it goes the other, maybe your vision, yeah, maybe. The neat thing about America so far is it can always change. The anti-corporatist, as someone pointed out earlier on one of the streams I was on, I think it was Annie Fitzgerald, uh, there aren't actually any undecided voters, just people too ashamed to tell you that they're voting. I don't agree with that. There are undecided voters, but we were also talking about how that means they're either uninformed or misinformed. This, what you got right there, this right here, is information. Inform them that they're voting for Trump. Yeah, but that's not all. That's some of them. That's some of them. That's a self-conscious racist right there. But that's not all of them. A lot of them just choose to let others suffer because they are not yet suffering. The rest of the world thinks America is gangster. We're working like hell to change that. How about this though? I'm glad you're on the fence. Let me consider this or ask you to consider this before I go. If you try to tell people about this and they don't listen, that's their fault. If you wait the 30 days for the election to come and go however it's going to go, and it goes bad, and you didn't say anything to anybody, that's your fault. And it sucks. It sucks that we have this to deal with when I would prefer that we were building cities on moons and doing, more ambitious things. But we do have to deal with this. And right now, we have a great opportunity to make a lot of progress. So I ask you, pretty please, with sugar on top, share that political article. Political article, fudge. That political article. Son of a gun, share the article with people. It's a good article. But again, I say, I'm in no state. It's too early. It's nappy time. And I got these here potato chips to finish up. But I am excited. Ooh, boy. At the very least, I can't wait for Trump and company to come panicking and giving terrible answers about what was just written there. Oh my God. Yes, Donald James X. The Democratic Party should make an ad out of this story. Boom, they win. Oh, I hope they do. I hope they do. This has been an abridged WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. My name is Jake, and this right, y'all, is Donald James X.